So, welcome everyone to episode 1 of the BlockTalk. This is the first ever DeFi podcast hosted on Telegram, and I am delighted to welcome you guys, Valiants DAO. Andre and Kevin, I have known Kevin for close to probably a bit over 10 years now. Andre I've known for about a year, both very respected people within the DeFi world, and they've come on to speak a bit about their DAO, a few other things. Andre has recently wrote a book that I'm interested in talking to him about a bit later. And yeah, I want them to come on and share their experiences in the DeFi world, different stories, and things of that nature. So why don't you start off and just tell us what a DAO is and some of the foundations of how a DAO works.
Yeah, I'll let Andre go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, so DAO is a bit of a concept that's been existing underground for a little bit, but it's becoming more and more mainstream. Basically, DAO means decentralized autonomous organization, and what it is, it's just decentralized communities who come together and decide to create, let's say, some sort of it can be a project or maybe something that would look like a company providing services, mostly in the Web3 space, and that is run by smart contracts, basically. So there's a governance system within the DAO that is decided by the members. There's different degrees of decentralization within DAOs. Certain DAOs have illegal structures, others don't. So it's a very broad spectrum, but the main definition that you have to retain with that is that it's basically a decentralized way to do business, and that's very, very new in the space, basically.
Right. So yeah, so to my understanding, I'm actually reading the Proof of Stake book by Vitalik himself. And I've been reading about DAOs, learning a lot about them, a lot about the history of DAOs as well. It's really interesting how there's a kind of governance system within the business itself and how it actually can govern itself, and it's not the typical model where it's CEO and you have like the board actually has a bit more of there's complete transparency, and where it's not that people can be favored. The smart contract actually dictates that everyone has an equal say, everyone has an equal share. Obviously, we're still in the very early stages, and there's a lot of testing that needs to be done on DAOs, but it's something that really fascinates me, something that I want to get more into. And, as a part of that DAO, that's something that I'm going to be fascinated to learn more about. But tell me a bit more about the philosophy of it and why you kind of chose to do that. Obviously, I know you've been in the Web3 space and been in DeFi for a while, but what was it that kind of intrigued you so much about it and made you start your own?
Okay, so it's a good question. So let's just say that I didn't really choose to start the DAO to bring it a little back in the days. Kevin, another person called Daniel, and we started a channel basically at the beginning to rate projects to find a unbiased way to rate product, which was called CNA ratings. That channel got some traction and started building community around it. And as the community grew, it went from being a simple, average community channel to basically people deciding at some point they decided to come together and it was like, all right, why don't we structure ourselves as a DAO and basically, propose services and form a business. And so it all started from there, last year. It all started from there. And then from there, it just exploded. From what just started to be a simple DAO, it exploded to basically having a journalistic culture where members, use their own journals to document their adventures in DeFi, especially in the trading space, since we're focused mostly on investment, to competitions, to just a lot of things. And that's culminating now with starting to have our own utilities, our own trading utilities that are based on investment, basically, but are quite unique to the space. So that's really how it came about. I'm not going to go in too much in detail, but just to summarize it, is that it was really the community who created it. We didn't decide anything. It was really like, it was quite amazing to see. It was really like a decentralized effort of people, hanging for a long time. And we all know how long it is 1 year in Web3. It's like 7 years in real life. And they're okay. We've lived through so much together, through the whole bear market, through everything. We want to prepare for the bull market. Why don't we structure this as a DAO? And that's how it came to be. And it's just crazy to see the evolution today, knowing that it was, as something done, in a fully decentralized manner.
Right. And that it really did fascinate me, because, I remember when you guys started CNA ratings, and, I followed a lot of those AMAs and listened in and tuned into what you guys were doing closer to the start. And it was really interesting because it was very unconventional, and no one was doing that sort of rating system before, at least in within the Telegram space. So the fact that you guys have turned that into something like this, and realized that maybe, okay, this wasn't working as well as we'd hoped it to, so we're gonna take our community that we built, because you guys did build a really solid community. Like, I'll tell you that from what I've seen within the DAO, you guys have an amazing community of people who are genuinely looking to help grow this space, and who want to progress the DeFi world forward. So the fact that you guys did that and turn this into a DAO honestly fascinates me, and shows that you can really, take any direction with a business that you may start, and not want to take that direction with further, where you can't really do that in the Web 2 world. You can't really take a business that is, it's really hard to take a community from one thing to a complete opposite in Web 2, but in Web 3, that's the reality of the space. So that's really, really cool to see an actual case of that.
Yeah, I was just going to add one more thing here. I think another really big thing was the fact that since we were doing a rating system, it was attracting a certain type of investor and a certain type of person in the space, right? And I think, people who were looking for like legitimate ratings, like how we were giving them out a couple months ago, I think, like I said, I think it attracted the community that we have now. And obviously everybody on our board serves a very key role inside the DAO. And I think that they're here today because they came together with me, Andre, and Daniel to be a part of something bigger. And now it's led us to, the creation of our DAO. And I'm really, really excited to see what the future holds for us.
Right. So what are your future plans with the DAO? What do you think that this is going to bring? Obviously I've had some conversations with Kevin about what the DAO is, and what you guys are doing right now. But what are your future plans with it? What do you want? What's your end goal with this? Let's say a year down the line, 2 years down the line, maybe even beyond that.
So, a lot of the goals will be discussed by the community and decided by the community. But really, the architecture that we want to build is, first off, we want to become the number one, or at least a top DAO within the investment DAO in the BSC space, and we want to do that without having any token whatsoever. Really want to create a new system that is more NFT based, and that's more based on meritocracy, in the sense that it's not because you have a lot of money and you're buying a lot of NFTs or a lot of tokens that you're going to be able to vote more. Our idea is really to create a structure that's going to become a really model of reference for future DAO, and then also propose the structure for future DAOs that want to use it. This for the most the governance system that we want to create. And the second is our hard utility. Our hard utility is going to be focused on investment. Really, what we want to do is be the pioneers of wallet investment management, in the sense that we want to create a new way for people to be able to invest in projects. So we want to create structure where the investors themselves can vote to decide where the funds are going to be invested, and want to create that in a very secure environment. And that's where the DAO is going to be focusing, really in creating that tech and bring that tech to people. And we've started already with our partnership with SoTrade, where although it's been extremely difficult, but today it's finally live, the MVP, where traders are actually able to be paid to trade based on how much asset under management they have, basically, which is something that's not been done in the space, and we want to continue that. And when we will feel that we will be ready, we'll start looking for more important partnerships, like we have some that came out today, but I'm not sure I can speak about it. But yeah, it's once we're solid on our basis, we'll go mainstream on those.
Very interesting. Okay, so could you go a bit deeper into that in terms of I'm not sure if I fully understood. You said you want to be sort of like an asset management DAO where people what's the end goal with that? Like in that.
So it's really the it's like when you invest, it's currently very hard to invest in DeFi. I mean, 99%. I mean, I don't have the numbers, but the large majority of people actually lose money in DeFi, and I would say the majority of projects are just don't survive long enough. So really, the only way you have to survive in the space and to strive in the space is to join a community. And so our idea is to create, sort of technological technology to enable people to come together and to invest together. So let's say if you alone with $100, you can't really contribute to, let's say, some major seed sales, some or other structure. If you come together with 1,000 people that each have $100, you have $100,000, and here you're more interesting for important projects for you to contribute. And the issue is that today you can't really do that because it's hard to trust people you don't know. But what we want to do is, with smart contract technology, we really want to bring that to the next level. And we also want to bring the governance of people to the smart contract when it comes down to investment decision. And you can have several structures. You can have a fully decentralized one where it's each investor that has the right to decide where the fund or where the wallet, basically the smart contract, will invest. Or you have other structure where investor trust experienced traders, like the model that we're currently experimenting to trade. Basically, I can't go too much in detail, mostly because it's highly, it's super technical, and the final model, we're still learning from our first MVP and getting the lessons from our first MVP on how we're actually going to be approaching that. But what we know is that it's technically doable, and that later on it can also potentially interest corporates, especially in the finance sector. If in, let's say, a year or 2 years from now, you don't just have simple tokenized tokens of projects, but you can potentially have real world asset being tokenized, or even stocks or more, basically. So it's really what we're looking to prepare in the next few years.
Wow. Well, that sounds really, 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 really interesting. That's you raised a really good point there. You didn't give the exact statistic, but I know a large majority of people lose money in DeFi, and that's something that's very apparent and very known across, or maybe not completely known across the whole community. And that's because, like you said, a lot of these projects kind of just rise and fall within a 24-hour range. So that's really, really, really cool that you guys are doing something to kind of help protect people's funds and do something where the whole community it's like a joint decision in terms of where you guys are investing your money.
Yeah, I was just gonna.
which would
Just-
yeah, go ahead.
I really didn't mean to cut in, but I just wanted to add one more thing. I kind of think it's about time in this space, really, that there's another investment solution provided. You know what I mean? Because as of right now, it's kind of just open up your MetaMask and use one of the swaps, bridges, and whatever to kind of invest in whatever projects you want, right? But like we said, there's a high amount, there's a high chance of losing money doing that. So I think by providing another investment solution and kind of building the backbone for, I think this is really going to be one of the first ever DAOs that does what it does. And I think it's really going to pave the way for other DAOs in the future who choose to do what we're planning on doing here. But yeah.
For sure. Like it genuinely sounds like you guys are going to be massive innovators in the space. And that is my, from me, from a personal standpoint, the biggest lesson that I've learned within DeFi is that innovation trumps everything else. If you can create something that is genuinely going to change the way or move the path of where something is going, and you have a solution which will help 99% of people, obviously your DAO is not going to be open to everyone, which is something that I do want to get into a bit after, is like how can people come into the DAO. But yeah, innovation and innovative things in DeFi. That's why I started this podcast, because I didn't see a whole lot of people, or really anyone, running a DeFi podcast specifically on Telegram. But yeah, so how can people get into the DAO, and what's that process like?
So currently, we're not trying to do a quantity. We're rather looking to do a quality. We're not trying to go mainstream yet. So we're really careful who we onboard in the DAO, just because we understand the value of our community, and we've experienced even in our public chats, because we have a public chat where anybody can enter and get some news from the DAO, get some basic information from the DAO. And then we have private chat, board chat as well, where we share more confidential information, that has higher value. But what we've seen with all the drama that there is in DeFi and in Web3 is that you really want to be careful with who you onboard, basically, because one bad apple can destroy the whole batch. So I would say that right now, if you want to enter, you can come into the private, the public chat and discuss a little bit, and we can even ask for it, and then we'll ask what your motivations are, and then you can you will have the option to buy an NFT. Or the second option is that we offer is if you own a project, you can get a custom NFT to your project as well, which is another way to enter. So we recruit basically people in the DAO that are either can bring something because they're either investors, they're good investors, they're good traders, or they're well connected, or they're themselves owning a project, and a safe project, and have demonstrated that they could do good. So I would say these are the two ways. It might change. It's probably going to change and be more open later, because we're going to have a total of 7,777 NFTs available. But for now, we're really not in a rush at all. We're focusing on building with who we have, and yeah, once we're really solid on all these different parts, we're gonna go grow quite well. But for now, if anybody wants to check, they can join our public chat and chill there. There are always going to be members, active there every day.
Yep, sure. And I'll definitely drop a link to that after this episode is done, so people who might be new in here can come and drop by in there. But yeah, moving away from the topic of DAOs, we can come back to it a bit later. I did want to ask, for both of you, how you guys got your start in DeFi, and leading you up to this DAO. What made you interested in coming into DeFi? What was it that was kind of like, okay, this is what I want to be doing? Because I know both of you guys are in this, in it to win it. You guys are full force.
Well, yeah. I'll start talking about how I got in the first place. It was a friend who had introduced me to their call channel at the time, which was a completely foreign concept to me. It was a piece of the internet that I never knew even existed. Although I did invest in crypto I've been investing in crypto for about sorry, just 1 second. I've been. Hold on. Is there something wrong with my mic?
I think you sound okay. Yeah, I can hear you okay.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, I've been investing in crypto for about 5 years. But DeFi, especially, I think it was about a year and a half ago. Like I said, my friend had introduced me to their call channel, which I never even knew existed at the time. But I kind of picked up the ropes from him, and I realized that there's thousands of these little businesses operating inside the internet with lots of people. I kind of got in during the bull market, so I was able to witness pretty inconceivable amounts of money being made in front of my eyes, which really just got me even more interested in understanding how I can get more knowledgeable in DeFi, first of all, and also how I can establish myself as a entrepreneur in the space. But I'd say there's been a lot of ventures that I've been on. I've built I'd say I've worked on in total about 4 channels. I've done AMA hosting for multiple. I've been admin for multiple. And then also I've done some consulting in the past, just general, just some pretty general stuff. I'm not going to go too deep into that, but with this with Valiants DAO, like Andre said earlier, it did start off as CNA ratings, and the reason I had started that was I was kind of sick of just the regular channels posting just complete kind of garbage. For months on end, and I wanted to do something innovative and different. And with the help of Andre and Daniel, we were able to make the dream happen. And we went pretty full force for about four months. Actually, I don't know if around 4 months. And then I obviously had some other responsibilities I had to take care of. But Andre, made sure that the community kept running, and now it has flourished into Valiants DAO. So that's kind of a little bit about my history in the space, without going too deep into too much. But yeah, I'll let Andre also add on.
Yeah, thank you, Kev. Yeah, it's great to think that it's only been like a little bit more than a year. It feels like 10 years with all that we've been going through.
I will say I have definitely aged at an accelerated rate due to the amount of time I have spent on Telegram. I feel like I was robbed of my teenage years and childhood now, but it is what it is.
Yeah. So I started almost 2 years ago. So basically started in DeFi almost 2 years ago, because I went in there at the very early stage when it was really disorganized, and at the time we had almost all we had was meme coins and anonymous projects that were just going to the hundreds of millions, in a few weeks. Like, it was starting from $1,000. Like, it was a really insane time when I started. Like, any project will just go crazy without doing any marketing or anything. And the one thing that made me enter it was that I saw that there was a lot of, let's say, unprofessionalism in the space, and that fortunately the majority of these projects were were like empty shells, a lot of promises, and a lot of there was nothing behind. So it was really with an idea of professionalizing the space that I started a consulting company called DeFi Valiant. And basically this led me later on to just advising, doing advisory with several projects. So at the beginning I was just started very simple, like started with advising some, I started with what there was, like meme coins. So my first clients were meme coins and anonymous developers. So I started working with them. And then as I grew and as I learned also how the Web3 space worked, I grew and I started advising bigger and bigger projects. And, certain culminating at certain point rates. And I was quite happy with the work I did because most of the project with what I advised, I actually had a higher survival rate and actually introduced some really cool features in the space. What really hurt us was the Luna crash. I believe it was in April, May of 2022, which pretty much removed all liquidity in DeFi. And that's when we started the desert crossing. Basically, there was no money whatsoever in DeFi. All the projects were dying. I mean, I think that at the time I lost almost, I lost almost most of my clients in a few months' time, just because everything just crashed like crazy. Yeah, it was very hard. So at that time, I started writing a book, basically to explain and to show what I witnessed down here in DeFi, and also started my own crypto journal. So I just started documenting what I was seeing in crypto, because my idea was to write I loved so much writing my first book, but it was more of interview based and a lot of research, like hands-on research. And I wanted to write a second one, which was more like showing what I saw, basically just telling a story. So I started keeping a little Telegram journal back in last summer, and this journal just skyrocketed. People started following this journal. At the beginning was trading actively, and then with that was born the culture of the DAO, pretty much. And on the side, I also switched more with corporates. So now I'm doing more advisory to corporates and to bigger companies that are trying to bridge Web2 in Web3. But I'm still using a lot of all the knowledge that I got from working with anon devs, like on Mincoin project. And you wouldn't believe like what I sometimes hear in meeting and stuff like that, and how much it reminds me sometimes of what was done 2 years ago. So the experience that I gained, advising DeFi projects is now super useful. As I grow my actual consulting firm to be more professional and geared towards bigger corporation, helping them bridge into Web3, basically. So that's pretty much where we are now today.
Wow. Yeah. So a few of those things that you mentioned, I do want to dive a bit deeper into. But Andre, yeah, I know you've had a crazy ride in Web3 from what I've heard. Very, very interesting. So you've been in, you said 2 years, correct?
Right. Yeah, it's almost been 2 years. Yeah.
Wow.
And I was in crypto before. But really active professionally, yeah, it's been 2 years.
Right. And when did you start consulting? When was it that you started consulting?
Yeah, no, it was 2 years ago. It was 2 years ago that I started consulting. But I've been members of community like ever since 2017 and the ICO madness back in the days. But that was so different. Like that was like communities back then were not even communities.
Right.
It was not even close to, like, everything got created so fast in 2 years. Like call channels, all that stuff, Telegram groups, communities, like that stuff didn't exist. Yeah, back in the days.
Even the communities today, it's groups of people in Telegram groups that are all like fighting against each other for liquidity, but they're all kind of just pretending that they're so nice and they're friends, but they're fighting against each other for the liquidity. So it's funny how the things work. And it's definitely like the token communities, I feel like, are definitely a bit toxic. But these communities like DAOs, communities like the community I want to build for myself and my channel, I think can be really healthy for the space and progress the growth. That's really I didn't know you've been in since 2017. I thought you came in later.
Yeah, no, I was. My
You
first
that was
investment, my first big investment was Binance when it came out. So that's why I fell in love with
wow.
BSC. Yeah, because when I got accustomed to BNB, I remember the crash from $12 to $4 when everybody thought it was you know it was over. So yeah,
Right.
that's basically, yeah, that's the timeline. But I had no idea it would become that back in the days. Like Binance was just another exchange.
So your book, I've heard lots about your book. It's something I'm going to be picking up very soon after I'm done reading my next two or three. So I'll leave a review on Amazon for that when I'm done, and maybe I'll even drop a link to that down here so people who might be interested could pick that up. But tell me a bit about that. What inspired you to write the book? Tell me a bit about what it's about, and yeah, go into that a bit deeper.
So what inspires me was basically like the amount of sheer destruction that Luna brought to the DeFi space. And back in the days, I mean, Kevin remembers we almost thought the DeFi was done. It was just so bad that
Yeah.
it was, yeah, it got to a point where everything was dying. So I started writing the book just because I didn't think it was over, but I was, just in case, I want to write something that's like a testimony to my time in the space. So yeah, that's how it became, because we're in a point where it got so bad that and everything was dying, that I was like, I have to tell what happened, and I have to show what happened to the people, what happened, and the lesson that we can take from it, basically. So that's how it came about.
Yeah, I was also going to add on to that. That time period was, I would not say, I wouldn't call it traumatizing, but it was definitely like to watch such a thriving community of people just completely disappear within a matter of weeks. And then also literally all the liquidity in the Binance Smart Chain basically just went away for some reason. Well, the reason was because of the Luna crash and the market conditions at the same time. But yeah, no, that was a time that, like Andre said, everything was dying left, right, and center, and it was very unclear where the future of DeFi was heading. And it was just a dark time. And yeah, I'll let Andre continue talking about the book here.
Hello.
Yep. Yeah. Can you hear?
Sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we can hear.
Yeah. I can hear you now.
But
So-
there's also, just one more thing. There's also a lot of things in that book, like specific key events that were documented. So it's actually, if anybody's looking to pick up the book, I really recommend it, because you're actually going to be able to kind of look at the history of the space just a little bit. Obviously, it's very recent history, but you're going to be able to look at it from a consultant's perspective, as well as, there's a lot of key references in that book that were used that are also entrepreneurs in the space who shared their opinions on why things were happening the way they were happening. But yeah.
Right. How long did it take you to write the book? How long did you spend doing that?
It's like it took me a long time. So I started. The book was mostly notes that I took. I always take notes all the time. Even now, I'm keeping a journal where I write every day what I do, on paper and also on Telegram, of course. But so it was first, it was compiling all that work that was done, then doing interviews. So it took me, I would say, almost 6 months to write it. Overall, yeah.
Wow.
I would say just around 6 months. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so you guys did mention the Luna crash and some things that were definitely affected DeFi after that. I think everyone saw that who was a part of the space. But through those tough times, what was it that pushed you through, if there was something that pushed you through, and what did you learn from your your tougher times in DeFi?
Kevin, do you want to go first?
Yeah. Well, to be honest, it was kind of there were a couple of things. The first thing being, we've already invested all this time and energy into learning more about DeFi and crypto, and just to give up and never look back again. It's just me personally. That's not the way I operate. If I pick something up, I'm going to try my best to finish it. Which kind of applies to the same thing here. It was definitely like mentally, it was a mental battle to continue working at some points, just due to the fact that you look at the surrounding market conditions and you think like, is the work I'm doing even going to be worth it? And sometimes you self-doubt and you don't fulfill your plan. Which is, something that I wanted to avoid. I wanted to, continue building what I was building, which was CNA ratings at the time, and as well as all the other stuff I was working on. I wanted to continue building for the sole fact of I'm going to be more knowledgeable after I complete this work than I was before. And having that knowledge and continuing to learn is kind of what propels you in life. The more you know, the more knowledge you have about certain subjects, certain topics. You know what I mean? That means you're going to be just as much more knowledgeable than the guy next to you. And yeah, there were a lot of people that got wiped out, and I don't blame them. As you know what I mean? I'm not going to go into too much specifics, but one of my people that I had been working with, he just couldn't handle the stress that came along with working without making too much money. It was very stressful for him, and as it should be for a lot of people. But I think really just having ambition and mental fortitude is really what gets you through any tough times. And I feel like after surviving that and still being here to this day, I think that even if the market crashed 100 more times, I'd be okay, because now I know how to handle it.
Right. And that's really interesting, because you only learn through failure. Truly, the biggest learning lessons that you will ever get in your life will come through failure, will come when you or the market hits rock bottom. And that's where the test really is, because if you can survive when we hit rock bottom, you can definitely thrive at the top. And
100%.
It's really important. But Andre, what about yourself? In your experience, what were the biggest lessons that you learned?
Yeah, so I'll say, I'd say you never find peace until you get zeroed. Basically, it was the biggest lesson I learned in DeFi. Jokes aside, it was, it's just been the hardest. Like, DeFi has been the hardest thing that I've ever done in my life, by far. I've worked in banks, I've worked for consulting firms, I've done everything, but the most draining, Web3 has been the most draining thing that I've ever done. And that's mostly because it's such a new technology. So there are a ton of different actors. And what I've learned is that one thing that's really valuable in the space is surrounding yourself with good people and showing dignity and integrity, because you're going to have phases where, indeed, for example, in a full bear market, there's no liquidity, so it's hard to basically to make close deals, to make business, because there's little to no liquidity. And you're going to have phases like in the bull market where you could literally make $20,000 per day investing randomly or even proposing random services. So that basically that created some sort of psychotic in the space, where you had a lot of actors that were toxic, and I feel like it was like the biggest thing that I've learned was that to surround yourself with good people and to act good as well, to act with integrity, was also allowing you to attract these kind of people. So really like making sure you don't sway away from your path. What was the biggest thing, and also it's just, I mean, I truly believe in the tech. At least I personally believe in the application of the tech for finance. I'm convinced for the rest, I don't want to put Web3 where there's no need of putting Web3. But concerning finance and a new way of doing business, I'm profoundly convinced of the technology, so much so that it's become a passion. So, that's been a huge driver for me as well, basically, because I know for a fact that adoption, like I'm convinced that adoption is coming, and I'm seeing that the space is evolving. But we came from being announced on Telegram trading, meme coins with head dogs, a year and a half ago, to now having big corporation choosing their own protocols to start deving their own solutions on it. So it's changing. Like the second bull run won't be the same as the first one. It's changing, and so it's because we know what's at stake behind that. You have to grind hard during the bear because you've done what others wouldn't have done, and you are able to be ready when the next bull market comes.
Yeah, for sure, man. And you definitely hit the nail right on the head there, that the financial applications of DeFi and of Web3 are where that is definitely the first real world application of what Web3 is going to be and what DeFi is going to be. And people really seem to lack the understanding that Web3 is still in the MS-DOS phases and the Nokia phases, the Stone Age, whatever you want to call it. That we don't even have the base of we barely have the base of the foundation of what this is going to be yet, right? Like we've got smart contracts, and we've got Ethereum, we got Bitcoin, a handful of projects that are innovative, but we haven't actually, the technology is being built as we speak. The infrastructure is being built as we speak. There's it's not coming in front of people's, it's not coming into people's minds because they haven't seen the innovation yet, but it's coming and it's happening, and it's happening in real time right now. I've spoken to a few people who work at banks, and spoken to a few people who work, in the financial industry. Half of the banks in North America are running on the blockchain, or have half of their systems running on the blockchain already. Most people don't know this, but blockchain technology is the most going to be the biggest powerhouse in the financial industry for the next 10 years. It's coming. The PR runs for Web3 are going to be coming soon as well, and I think that's when the next bull market hits, is when there's really a solidified real world application of Web3 besides what we have already so far. But yeah, man, that's where Web3 is, in my opinion, and I believe in the technology more than anything, to where I've literally devoted my whole life to it. Towards, for me, I want to. My biggest passion in Web3 is scalability and creating scaling solutions. So that's what my 2023 is working on, is focusing on how we can scale. But yeah, that's a really interesting take. And Andre, what do you see as the future of DeFi specifically, and how DeFi can kind of become a bit more mainstream? Because there have been a lot of propositions to, shut down DeFi, like a lot of the big corporations like Berkshire Hathaway and BlackRock and all of these guys who don't really like DeFi very much, who control a lot of the money. What do you think are some things that can be what do you see as the future of DeFi?
Oh, it's the liquidity pool tech is insane, especially for hedge fund, mutual funds, any fund that want to create a mirror basically on the smart chain. What I think is really going to help, and if you guys have time to check, I definitely recommend to check the defunct project of Mirror protocol on Luna. But I definitely think that the future is going to be tokenization of stocks, ETFs, and usage of smart contract tech, basically to find new, more effective ways to handle these funds. Today, I've been at the bank, so I know a bit how it's run. It's complicated because obviously there's regulation, but it's complicated. It's a lot of different techs coming together, and smart contract can simplify all of that, especially in the fee phase. So yeah, that's going to be a huge. But for that, we need regulators to understand the tech and some financial corporations to go in as well. But as I saw JP Morgan recently tipping their toes in our dark DeFi, basically, if I can call it, I know, it's only a matter of one actor coming in, and then the others won't want to be left apart, so they will look to come in as well. Then after, there also needs to be adoption from the retail sector, and for that we need a cleansing basically of the space, which is something that's coming sort of, and that's all, like, people are regulating themselves as well. It's interesting to see, but we'll have to see how it plays out. There's a lot of factors in, but I think that's going to be an important future for DeFi basically.
Yeah, for sure, man. And AMMs are huge. That, like, the ability to cut out the market maker completely and just have everything automated through liquidity pools would completely transform the way the stock market operates. I think that's a really, really solid use case, and I believe that's the future of the stock market, and ETFs and mutual funds and index funds, etc. would be tokenization. And even possibly, companies doing ICOs. I'm sure we're gonna see that a lot more in the future.
Yeah, no, 100%. I really think that smart contract is an amazing tech for finance, especially in fee management and user management as well. I really think there are so many cool applications on it. I mean, just the tax system on that we see on shitcoins is so revolutionary in itself, and that can be used a lot. Like, the same system can be used a lot by managers and by fund managers and more. For them basically to handle their funds and to pay themselves. So yeah, the tech is here. I don't think that the tech is a problem. The problem is really like the adoption, the understanding of the possibilities, and also if the space wants it, as well. Like, if a big actor comes in and then everybody starts exploiting this actor and giving him bad rep, then that's it. It's over
for sure. Quick question:
so, yeah.
Can you guys comment on the posts? Because I did set up a discussion chat, but I'm not seeing the comment box anywhere. So I'm just asking if you guys have the ability to do that.
Let me check it out right now. Give me a second.
Yeah, no, I can't.
Let me know.
Yeah,
you can't.
Okay,
I'll fix that after, because I was trying to get some questions set up. But if people want to ask questions at the end, I'll let people raise their hand up and talk to DC instead. But yeah, that's like, I think you raise a good point there. In it's like, if people do want it, so there needs to be a big enough pull factor and real mediators for this, because I don't want to say a lot of the people in Web3 are kind of just like wasting the potential of this technology, but a lot of people are really in it for the short game. 95, like, as I'm sure, as 95% of projects don't last more than 24 hours because the developers want short money, quick money, and obviously money is, key. Money is completely key in any business in the world, regardless of whether you're in Web 2, Web 3, Web 4 in the future, whatever it is, right?
I was gonna draw a comparison here quickly. It's kind of the same in the real world, right? You have consumers, you have low-level businesses, medium-level businesses, high-level businesses. It's kind of a mirror of the real world. You know what I mean? Some people are gonna strive to build to innovate and solidify themselves in a market, and some people are just there to get by. And it really depends on how interested somebody is and what their plans and goals are in their life. Is kind of what I've learned and what it comes down to. You can't really you can bring a horse to the river, but you can't force it to drink the water, right?
True. Very true. And I think that in DeFi, it's a world which promotes the ability for anyone to come on and do anything, right? DeFi is completely, and blockchain is completely open source. So any developer, and which is also one of the very, amazing things about blockchain is that every piece of innovation, every piece of technology which is built on the blockchain can be seen and used by everyone. You cannot you can't gatekeep your Solidity code on the Ethereum blockchain because it's public. It's on the blockchain. It's anyone can see it, use it, view it, and it's going to help with innovation massively because these massive Fortune 500 companies absolutely love just gatekeeping their tech and their code, and we're going to see some really, really, really big things that are completely open source that people are going to be able to build on, that fanatics and innovators are going to be able to use. And that's definitely one of the things that I think is a really big factor and why Web3 is going to go very far, very quick, because people can use other people's technology and build upon it. That's why when a project goes live in DeFi, you'll see not even within the next 2 days, there's 20 other people doing the same thing because they just copy and paste and fork their contract, right? So that's something. It's a gift and a curse in some ways, but I think it has much more positives than negatives. The other thing I wanted to say was, hold on, let me catch my train of thought. Yeah, in terms of the Web3 applications within the real world, what do you think specifically people can do to be a part of that? And how do you think someone could, maybe young or however old you are, if you're an entrepreneur who wants to get into the Web3 space, who wants to build some sort of innovative technology, what would you not necessarily recommend, but how could you kind of take a stab at that? What's the path you would recommend?
Well, if you're a young person who wants to get into Web3, I don't know. The best way I learned, I'd like to think that I've gone pretty far in obviously it's a very early career, but I think I've learned quite a significant amount of things over the past couple of months. I really would stress the people who want to, kind of learn to literally just load up $5 into your MetaMask and figure out, you have to start from the very beginning of, how do you even set up a MetaMask account? What is a MetaMask account? What is this wallet address? You know what I mean? What is the blockchain explorer? What is, BSC scan? What's Etherscan? How do all these things work? What are all these wallets connected to these things? How does everything interact? That's how you have to reverse engineer what you're seeing is really my best way to, my best piece of advice. And this goes for anything in life. If you want to figure out how something works or something is made, you have to reverse engineer it. You got to figure out why everything connects and how they connect. And I also will say there are not too many books specific to DeFi and to Binance Smart Chain other than Andre's. So I do think maybe with more, the more and more books get published based on, this niche, I think that could also be a very good way to learn as well. But I'll let Andre go ahead and, give his tips.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It's I would say if you're starting, first off, don't invest large amounts of money, regardless of what anybody is telling you. You're going to get zeroed faster than you know it. Especially in DeFi. I mean, a lot of projects work very differently because they're not regulated. So first off, it's good to have skin in the game, but have little skin in the game. Don't FOMO. The market is not going anywhere. You have years. I mean, it's you're not going to miss anything if you see project going up. So first off, invest something that you're ready to. Second, if you have time, have an active role in communities. Communities of projects or anything, they always look for people to help. Very often it's unpaid work, obviously, because it's basically the reasoning is show your bags. So you buy and then you work for the project. So the value of your bag increase. But that's a good way to start learning a little bit and starting to for you to get a network. So join a project, you need any help, with partnerships or marketing or anything, and that can take like 10-15 times a day, and you can get to know some really cool people. And then once you start and people get to know you, then you can branch out to other things. It's really an environment that, even though it uses modern tech, still reasons like in the medieval times. Like, I mean, if you're not recommended, most of the time nobody will trust you. You can spend thousands and thousands of dollars in advertisement to sell your services. The best, if you look at the best call channels, the best services and people provide services in the space, they really build it via their reputation, via their hard work, and just based on that. And then once they've set their reputation, they have an important market share. So really, it's also the reasoning that you should have, and everything comes in due time. Don't try to rush anything. Also see if that's something that you like. Take the time to see if it's something that you like, and if you do, you will see that you will soon get a lot of opportunities. Just keep in mind not to burn yourself out, because it can be a very straining environment, and the best way to not do that is not to overspend basically on DeFi.
Okay, well, we're just getting past 11:33 here, so I think we should wrap it up. And we could go to some questions. If anyone in the chat or in the VC has any questions, you guys can feel free to raise your hands. In terms of like that, I think that's definitely something where DeFi struggles right now, because a lot of people gatekeep, and there's a massive barrier to entry because of that. The future of DeFi, a lot of it is going to lie in DeFi education and Web3 education. So people coming in, I know that you at DeFi Valiant have a course, which I would definitely recommend people to go and check out. I actually went over and watched a couple of those videos on your YouTube channel. They're fantastic, by the way, for anyone in here who has not watched them, who is a part of Andre's DAO.
Thanks.
You explain things very, very well. But yeah, just like some sort of educational platform, which is what I also intend to do here for people who want to come in. Like I said, this first question I asked is, what is a DAO? How does a DAO work? How does it operate? Give people a bit of a base understanding of how these things work and how people can get into DeFi. Because me personally, I want to lower that barrier to entry. I don't want to gatekeep DeFi. I want to bring in as many people as possible. I want to get people, obviously, the infrastructure can't necessarily support too many people yet, but it definitely can support more. There needs to be more people coming in, and that's my goal for what I'm here for,
Absolutely, and yeah, I really think that you're. We're really happy to be the first. Honestly, it's an honor to be the first one to be coming, on your talk, and we're definitely going to be recommending this mission to our network and to people who want to come and participate as well to your different episodes, because I think it's good. It's good because you're going to be participating basically in this whole process of democratizing what DeFi is, and opening it as well to a bunch of people who can come and learn it from someone like you who's experienced and is going to be able to tell when potentially a person that's going to come on board is not going to be saying a very exact thing. So it's good to have someone experienced that's just not going to be in awe in whatever somebody's going to be able to speak. So I really think you have an awesome project, Neutron. So yeah, it's a real pleasure to be here on your talk.
Thank you so much. I do genuinely appreciate you guys coming on as my first guest. I could not have asked for better first guests to come on and explain their story. And in terms of people coming on the podcast in the future, I do have 2 or 3 people who are in line right now. But I'm not against bringing on community members and, you know, maybe people who don't have as much of an influence but want a platform to speak on. If people have stories to tell, people have lessons to give, and they know something that maybe I don't know, or, you know, the other community members don't know, I'm more than happy to bring them on. And I want to give as many people a platform to speak on as possible. So I do appreciate you, you know, helping out and giving your advice to the community. This has been a fantastic first episode, and I'm really looking forward to getting more of these done. And I'll definitely be having you guys both back on in the near future when you guys got some time, because there are some more things I'd like to cover with you guys. But yeah, and for everyone in here right now, just letting you guys know, our podcast will be available. I'm going to make a chat right after this for the podcast episodes where you can see all the recordings. I'm also going to be uploading them to YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, where you guys are going to be able to check those out as well. Send them over to your friends. And I would suggest everyone to turn on notifications in the Telegram group, t.me/theblocktalk. And you'll be updated when our podcasts go live. So thank you guys so much for coming on.
Thank you for having us, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Any final notes from you guys before we go?
No, just not really.
Yeah, the show goes on.
Okay, well, that wraps up and concludes the first episode of the Block Talk. Thank you, Andre and Kevin from
Thank you.
Valiants DAO, for coming on and joining us. I hope you guys learned something today, and you guys had some really interesting stories to tell. So I'm really looking forward to having you guys back on soon. And yeah.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you.
Okay.
And thank you guys for attending. Bye.
Yes, thank you guys. Thank you guys for coming in.
Bye. Ciao.
Bye-bye.